So let me take you back to 2016. It was almost 10 years ago when this happened. The nurse gazed at me with a very serious face and she said, "You are lucky. You could have died." But let me start from the beginning. It was a beautiful Saturday morning, and I was sitting outside on a patio overlooking the ocean, having my breakfast. And I could smell the spring in the air, and I could hear the ocean waves filling the space around me and birds. It was just so peaceful and so relaxing. And that's exactly what I needed after another week of riding an emotional roller coaster in the market. This was the moment that I really needed. Some space, some peace, some relaxation. And because of it was spring, I had this urge and thought, let me do some spring cleaning. The clean environment somehow always helped me to create a sense of space in my head. And I definitely needed some peace and some space there, because I have just gone through 2 years of struggle, of fear, frustration, and daily fighting with the market, constantly battling and hoping that something would change. So there I was, washing my windows and really enjoying the sun on my shoulders. And I got this slight headache at some point, but I really didn't put much attention to it because, I was really determined to finish my project. I was very driven with everything in my life, so I completely ignored it. And then the headache became really sharp. And all of a sudden, I started to feel very, very dizzy. I was always a fighter, a kind of a survivor type in my life. So I never really bothered to ask people for help or to even think about it that I can ask for help. But this time it was really different. This little voice in my head was telling me that if I don't ask for help this time, I won't be able to make it on my own. So I managed to call the emergency, and by the time that the ambulance arrived, I could hardly speak. I just heard them saying, sugar level 30. And before I knew it, they grabbed me and they were injecting something into my arm. And it took a few minutes before I started to coming back and feeling a little bit better. And this was exactly when the nurse said to me those words: "You are lucky. You could have died." She also said, "From now on, your life will change forever. You have no idea." And I didn't really know what those words meant at that time. But she was actually wrong. My life didn't change at that moment. It was actually 4 years earlier. It was the moment when I made $1,200 in under a minute in trading, just by clicking a button. That was the moment that everything changed. I completely pivoted. It hooked me. It was the time that redirected the course of the years to come. I got hooked. I saw a glimpse into the potential that trading could offer, and I completely got hooked to it. My name is Agnieszka Wood, and the reason that I am here is because that I know that there are millions of traders, and there is more and more coming into the market every day. And they are, just as I was once, hooked. And I know also that it doesn't take long before you get yourself completely lost. And when you get into trading, it feels a little bit like this. Let me share my screen. Can you see my screen? Okay, I think, hang on. There we go. So when you get into trading, this is a little bit how it feels. At least this is how it felt for me. I saw the light. I saw this potential that I didn't even know it existed before, because I was always working either for a boss in a corporate job, or I had my own company, but it was always somehow limited to the number of hours that I was working or to the salary that I was getting. And trading showed me that the potential is unlimited. And I really didn't know the world like that before. And I realized that there are just that it's a privilege to be in that world. What I did not realize is that the nurse also was right. I really didn't have an idea. I had no clue what I was getting myself into and how that would change my life forever. Because very soon after I got into trading and I made this trade, I got caught up in the emotional chaos of trading, overwhelmed by this constant search for the right strategy, for what is the best way to trade, stuck in the loop of this emotional ups and downs and capital ups and downs, and constantly question myself whether I was right. What should I do? And questioning my own skills, my own abilities, but still hoping that one day I would succeed. So for those of you who are feeling lost and maybe struggling with the uncertainty of where you are headed and why it feels so hard to get out of that cycle, first of all, know that you're not alone. And I am here today to give you another perspective, to show you that something that might help you to see the light at the end of the tunnel. I will share with you today the 3 critical forces that pull traders into what I call the trading triangle, trapping you in a cycle that impacts your trading journey and your life. And I will show you how these forces create confusion, frustration, and uncertainty, and how by understanding them, you can equip yourself to navigate through it all. And I call these forces a trading triangle after the Bermuda Triangle. And if you haven't heard of the Bermuda Triangle, it's this mysterious area located in the Atlantic Ocean between Miami, Bermuda, and Puerto Rico. And it's a region that is infamous for its ability to lead ships and planes even off course. And it has been linked to unexplained disappearances of vessels and aircraft over the years. And the trading triangle is very similar to Bermuda Triangle because it has the power to disorient you and trap you if you don't know how to navigate through it. And it can pull you in all opposite directions and take everything from you. It will make your money vanish. It will make your confidence disappear. And it will leave you feeling deflated and exhausted while you're trying to swim against the current. And you might be questioning whether if it's all worth it, or even worse, whether you are worth it. So if you're not prepared to handle these forces, and they are really strong, and I'm sure that many of you have already felt how strong they can be, you will find yourself overwhelmed and lost, surrounded by chaos and trapped in the noise. So today, I will share with you how I managed to shift from battling these forces with every trade, every single day, and move from surviving to thriving as a trader, trading profitably and feeling confident, proud, and worthy, regardless of whether I'm green or red for the day. Because when you master how to navigate these forces, then you can finally take control of the ship that you are sailing and fully enjoy the journey through life, not just as a trader, but as a human being. So let's break it down. The first force that you deal with as a trader is freedom. And that might surprise you because this is the same freedom that you want and that gets you drawn into trading. The freedom to make your own decisions, to decide what you want to do, when you want to do it, and how you want it. This is the same freedom, and it's one of the forces that is working against you. This is the freedom of choice, which can very quickly become overwhelming because there are so many different things to choose from. There are plenty of tools available for you to help you on the way, for tools for analysis, for trade executions, for information, for tracking trades. There are different strategies depending on who trades and when you want to trade, how you want to trade it. There is so many different approaches and methods that you can use to trade the market that it's absolutely overwhelming. And they are based on different varying degrees of complexity, of time commitment. So you're just sitting there thinking, how am I gonna choose from that? How do I know what's right? And there are also conflicting priorities, right? Like, what should I focus on? You want quick profits, but you should be focusing on long-term consistency, right? You need to focus on the process, but in the back of your head, you want to make money. And there is so much advice out there. Everyone tells you what's best. For a person A says, yes, you should do this. And then you watch another YouTube video and that other person says, you should do that because that works the best. And every time, wherever you look, there is next the best thing that you should do. So you're trying to jump from strategy to strategy. You look for different mentors, and everyone has different approach and conflicting views on what it takes to succeed. Just think about it, how often you feel that pull, being pulled in different direction, unable to decide what approach is right. You are faced with endless choices. Technical analysis, fundamental analysis, risk management, chasing big rewards, scalping, swinging, day trading, swing trading. The freedom becomes a burden that can create a lot of confusion, a lot of indecision, a lot of hesitation, and pretty much paralysis by analysis, making it very difficult for you to focus on what is truly the most effective approach for you. The second force is the external chaos. And this is the market environment, which I often refer to as your working conditions. Just think about it. You are exposing yourself to this force willingly. And the characteristics of that force are risk, uncertainty, and unpredictability. Just think about it from a perspective of, like, if you would look for a job, would you ever choose to work in conditions like that. Because you have to realize that those are the conditions you are choosing. The risk is a constant in trading because the market is unpredictable. And even with preparation, there is always a possibility of loss. Every trade involves a certain level of risk. And uncertainty plays a huge role in that risk because you never know what will be the outcome of your decision and which direction the market is going to take it. You can never be sure how the market is going to react to an economic report, let's say. You know it's going to move somehow in some direction, but you just don't have enough information to pinpoint which direction it will go. And this lack of certainty often leads to stress and making you search for this external point of reference. So it takes you back to looking outwards and looking for another YouTube video, for another person who tells you how that works, because you are looking to grab onto something to get rid of that discomfort that you feel because everything around you is uncertain. And in our daily life, of course, we also don't know what's going to happen, but we have worked out strategies in our daily life. It's much easier to soothe ourselves. Like we buy insurances, right? Everything is uncertain, but as long as we are covered, we build security nets in our life. And in trading, those security nets are there as well. Your plan, your stop loss, those are your security nets that help you deal with this discomfort. So realize that uncertainty is a constant companion in your trading, but it is pulling on you. It's a force that's pulling on you. And then the last one is unpredictability, because the market is not just complex, but it's also random. All the events in the market are random. And even if you gather good data and you do all the analysis you can do, you can never fully anticipate how things will play out. Take, for example, unexpected geopolitical crisis, like the Black Swan events, which are rare, but they are unpredictable and they have a massive impact because they can cause extreme movements in the market. And despite your preparation, they are just impossible to foresee with certainty, just like the COVID-19 pandemic or the Tokyo market stock market crash in 2024. The market's unpredictability is a reflection of its chaotic nature. The market chaos, this is the external chaos, as a force pulling on you, because the outcomes are not only uncertain, but also hard to anticipate. There's just so many moving parts that influence it. So the unpredictability of the market means that even when you feel confident in your trade or a strategy, the outcome is still out of your control. And the results from yesterday do not guarantee the same results today, no matter how identical the setup may seem to you. So you cannot base anything that happens in the future on your past results. And remember, this does not apply just to losses or to the profits, but also to losses. So even if you have lost the last 5 days, it doesn't mean you will lose today, even if your head is telling you that. So losing is just as probable as winning, and you never know whether your efforts will pay off. And in fact, you have to be prepared that significant portion of your efforts will not bring you profits at all. And that is sometimes hard to swallow. So in essence, in the market, nothing is certain and everything is possible. And these are the conditions that you work in every day as a trader. And then the third and the last force is the internal pressure. This is the pressure that you experience, which has to do with how you process and react to everything that is going on in front of you, mentally, emotionally, and physically. And this is where things get really tricky, because the external chaos of the market trigger internal responses. It triggers fear, it triggers anxiety, doubt. There's a lot of things going on inside. You have mental triggers, emotional triggers, and physical triggers, and this can become overwhelming and make it really difficult for you to focus on actually what is happening in front of you, because you are so busy inside your head. There's so much going on inside your body, and all you're trying to do is to deal with that and to end that discomfort. So there's constant swings between stress, overconfidence, and exhaustion, because it is really exhausting and it can cloud your judgment and then lead you to impulsive decisions and even missed opportunities. So we all know, and even though maybe some of us might not want to admit or accept it, is we cannot control the market, right? But we can control how we react to it. So if you look at all this internal pressures, or all this noise that's inside, it's really about everything that's going on in your head, everything that you are telling yourself, all your beliefs about yourself to start with. Do you believe that you are good enough to make trading a success? Or after all the losses that you've had, you think you come some kind of stupid? Or that maybe you are actually not worth the success because you have lost a lot of money and there's a lot of guilt and shame playing at the back of your head. You might be also believing that you have to work hard. I'm sure that there are a lot of traders who believe that working hard means making more money, because this is how most of us have been brought up. And that thinking is working in our daily life, right? Work hard, you will get promotion, you will build a career. The harder you work, the more you will make. In trading, it's different. And this is why it's so much potential there. This is exactly what blown your mind in the first place. Now it's actually limiting you. So all the beliefs that are going on inside your head are the forces that are taking your focus away from focusing on the trade, on your setup, on your plan. The emotional triggers, everything that's coming up physically in your body. We talk a lot about emotional control, right? And the ultimate dream for traders is to trade as a robot. Do not feel emotions. But emotion is energy in motion, and it will come. You're a human being. You are emotional, spiritual, physical being, and it will be there. And one way to deal with your emotions is to suppress it, but you have to realize it's just with a cork, from like a wine cork. If you try to push it underwater, at some point it will pop back up. So suppressing emotions doesn't work. You have to learn to regulate it. And it's a skill. It's a skill you can learn. But you have to first admit that, yes, there are emotions. What is it that I'm feeling? Build the awareness of what is that is actually, how is the market triggering me? And thoughts and emotions are very closely connected, because when something happens in the market and you start fearing and telling yourself, oh my God, I cannot lose, before you know, you're scared and you start feeling stress, right? So your body will physically react. So there is a lot of going on in your head. We have about 70 to 80,000 thoughts a day. And those thoughts have a direct impact on your emotional state and behavior, because that's a result of your emotional state. And your thoughts are acting as a sort of a filter, which filters how you perceive the information, and then they directly influence how you are reacting to the market movements. And if there is no pause built in between, if you're not aware of that, you are just going to simply react, be very reactive, meaning being very impulsive. There is an impulse trigger, boom, reaction. And that's where you start just being executing the program of your head that is playing out there without putting any thought into it, the rational thought. So for example, like I mentioned, like if you have a belief that you are not being, you don't have the right skills, or you're not capable enough, and perhaps maybe, you got it from your past experiences, those beliefs will influence how you approach trading and how you will feel when you take the trades. Your thoughts will also influence your chemical balance in your body, which will have an effect on how you behave. So when you think about success, and when the trade feels particularly rewarding, your brain will release dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. And that will lead you to overconfidence, making you believe that you are invincible. So you will start loading up on those shares, and you will be taking more risk than it's really justified. In contrast, if you have negative thoughts, such as fear of losing or making a mistake even, they will trigger cortisol, which is the stress hormone, and that will activate the fight or flight response. So it will make you act like there is a physical danger, which is not, right? Because this response is meant for physical danger and not for making trading decisions. But your body will react. Your nervous system is going to take whatever you give it to process the information and give out the response. And when cortisol level is high, you might freeze and just avoid taking any actions. You probably, maybe you have experienced, I know I have in the past a lot of times, just seeing the losing trade, draining my capital, and sitting there not being able to move. Or you may react impulsively, which, neither of those reactions is beneficial to your trading. So trading is often an emotional roller coaster because emotions can be as volatile as price movements. And you are probably familiar with the high of the winning trade and the low of the losing trade. And that leads a lot, to different emotional states, and can trigger a lot of things like frustration, anger, anxiety, and make you act in a certain way that is not necessarily the best way for you to build your capital. And there's this constant shift between fear and hope. And that clouds your judgment. Like the dynamic of fear and hope switches the moment that you enter a trade. Before you put the money on, you hope the price will go higher, and you say, okay, I'm going to get out when it gets lower. You're fearful to lose. The moment you put the money on, it switches, it completely flips. Now you're hoping when the price goes in the opposite direction than you expected, you hope it's going to come back. And when it goes your way, instead of monetizing on the opportunity and staying in a trade, you're jumping out because you're scared that you will lose the profit you have, or you're scared that this is going to turn around and then you're not going to make the money at all. So that's the force that's inside of you is incredibly strong. And the key thing is that it is pulling your focus and attention very strongly away from the market. And also don't forget that there's a lot of physical pressure that is causing fatigue, because stress and anxiety is exhausting physically for your body. And especially if you're, balancing your full-time job, maybe your part-time job, while trying to build a trading career, you probably spend a long hours in front of the computer trying to juggle everything. And that can lead to both a mental and physical fatigue, which reduces your cognitive function and ability to make rational decisions. It can slow down your reaction times, and it does lower your emotional resilience. You are just easier, more shaky when you are exhausted. So it's just harder to stick to your plan in that conditions and to manage your risk or to think straight. So this is a significant barrier to your ability to trade effectively. So we have all these three forces playing a role in your trading. They're exercising their power. And you are just in the middle of it, trying to stay afloat and deal with those forces. Sometimes, most of the time, completely losing sight of what is it that you are actually trying to achieve here. And no matter how overwhelming these forces are, I want you to realize that they are here to help you achieve your goal. Yes, it's very uncomfortable, but growing means getting out of your comfort zone and expand your boundaries. So there is no growing that feels good. That's why there is an expression, growing pains, right? If you go to the gym and you start exercising first, you come back home and you get muscle pain first, right? You get the lactic acid in your muscles, and it's gonna hurt first. So in my personal experience, trading is the best school there is. And if you like growing, and most traders are ambitious and they say, oh, I really like the fact that I learn a lot, just realize that you won't find a quicker and a better way to do that than trading. But you do need to understand the process and why those forces are there. Because without those forces, you cannot grow. They are challenging you in ways that no other thing in life does. Because in life, there is like one of those forces that's challenging you at a time. In trading, it's all condensed. It's all at once. That's why the growth happens so fast. So don't try to resist and fight those forces, because they are there for you to grow. Use them to propel you forward. So the question is really, how can you navigate through these forces, right? So that you can keep moving forward toward that goal that you want, toward that freedom. How can you stay on course? And there are plenty of methods and tools that address each of these forces, and during this conference you will learn some of them per area, but there are also several holistic principles that address these forces, and I'm going to share with you the most important ones that worked for me and that also helped many traders I worked with over the course of last 6 years, and help them to change their trading results in a very short time and navigate those forces so that they did not compromise their life for trading. And the first step is to really recognize that you are the most important factor in your success. You are always looking, most people are always looking, I don't know if you are, and I hope you're not, but most traders are always looking for the key outside of themselves. But realize that you are the key. The market is unpredictable, and the tools and strategies are endless. And it is how you manage yourself, your emotions, your reactions, your decisions that determine your outcomes. So the first principle is focusing on integrity and self-acceptance. Integrity is how you keep the word to yourself. It really helps you to navigate the freedom. Because the best way to decide what is the best choice for you is when you measure the options and possibilities against your own criteria based on you. Otherwise, you will never know if that's one strategy is good for you because it's just good for the other guy. And if you take 1,000 strategies, you will have to see, okay, how all those 1,000 strategies, they're working for all the other people, but what about me? So really going to back to yourself and to look from your own perspective and deciding what is it that is best for you in this particular moment. This will really help you to stick to your decisions, stick to your plan, because when you work on your own plan, you will have so much more connection with it. And even if it doesn't work out today, you will learn from it and you will be able to improve it. And the integrity with yourself will help you with building your confidence level. Because just like, with other people, with friends, if you are, if you're making an appointment with your friend for 5 times and he's going to call off and say, oh, you know what, I forgot, you will stop trusting him. But if you focus on your integrity and say, if I say I do something, I do it. And it might take time before you get there, but focusing on practicing that integrity, keeping your word, will make your whole system whole and working, because you will build the confidence and know that if I say something, I know I can trust myself. And that is very closely connected to self-acceptance, because self-acceptance is really about finding yourself important, finding yourself worthy and good enough to be important for you, being your own friend. Befriend yourself. Stop beating yourself up. Be kind to yourself. Mistakes happen. They will happen. These are the stepping stones in trading, in life. But if you keep seeing them as failures and ruminating and beating yourself up, just even think, would you do that to a friend? So treat yourself as your best friend. Be your cheerleader. Build yourself up and stop breaking yourself down. This is like the basic thing that will help you regulate emotions as well. Having self-compassion. Self-compassion is the best way to practice, to actually build emotional resilience, as a mental skill. So it will help you feel less stressed. You will be bothering less about and sweating the little things. When you accept yourself, you will also stop seeking an external validation. So you will be much more focused inside on yourself, what serves you, than what other people tell you, and you'll be able to filter the noise out. Prepare for the chaos and pressure, because this is the way that you can actually thrive despite the conditions and push through. Be resilient. If you do not prepare for the conditions you are working in, how do you want to thrive? If you are being pulled by all these forces, that means that you are simply not prepared. And it doesn't mean you are not good enough. It just means you need to prepare. It's very normal. If you go hiking, you buy hiking shoes, right? You take water with you, you put the right clothing on. You got to prepare for the conditions that you are choosing to work on every single day. And there are many things that you can do to prepare. And this is just a matter of learning what it is and taking the action. It will help you to deal with the uncertainty as well, because if you are prepared, you will just feel like you know what you can do when things will happen, right? You will have different scenarios, like, okay, I'm prepared for different scenarios. And trust in yourself. And when you build the integrity, you will also know that you will be okay because you can rely on yourself. Choose what serves you best. And it seems very easy, right? Of course, I'm choosing what serves me best. But how many times you make choices that are hurting you? And in some cases, you might not be even aware why you do that, right? Because a lot of times when you keep repeating the same mistakes, you say, why am I doing this again? Why am I staying in the loser? I know I should be getting out. So there's a lot of shoes that you throw against yourself. But choosing what serves you best, really making those choices and asking yourself, is this in my best interest? Is this trade that I'm about to take really gonna benefit me long term? Is chasing a trade gonna give me a good feeling at the end of the day? How do I want to feel at the end of today when I'm trading? And for a lot of people, choosing themselves and their best interest is not very intuitive, because a lot of times we've learned that it's egoistic to take care of yourself. But just like on the plane, when something happens and the oxygen masks fall out, you first have to help yourself before you can start helping others. And in the market, there is no one that will help you. So you have to do that. Back to being your own best friend. You have to take care of yourself first. Otherwise, it will be impossible for you to deal with those conditions. So making those choices based on your own values, who you are, what your goals are, instead of external pressures and your fears. Sometimes it might feel like something is not in your best interest, like taking a loss. But if you take a moment and really think about it, really take a moment with yourself and think, what is really here the best interest? What is really my best interest here? So that you can create clear boundaries for yourself and say, I will let the market up here, but not any further. Build your mental discipline. Trading requires discipline, which is about controlling yourself and specifically your mind. So it is, a lot of times I would hear, yeah, but I'm not disciplined. Well, the discipline starts here, because this is where you are deciding on your next step. And it means, really what it means, it's not even the doing, it's more the doing in here has purely to do with the focus, directing the focus onto what you truly want, rather than focusing on what you're trying to avoid. Because as an example, if you focus on losses, avoiding losses, it will build stress and it will activate your survival mechanism. So that's definitely not in your best interest, because you will feel anxious and fearful, and you will start making impulse-driven decisions. But if you focus on the process, managing your risk, following your plan, and constantly doing what works. So putting your focus on, what is it that I want? What is that makes me feel good? Now your mind stays clear and calm, because you are making the steps that you have planned, and you know that you made that plan with a thought of, if I follow those steps, then I get to my goal. That's how I made my plan. So mental discipline is really also about having the resilience to stay focused on your goal, so that all the other things are not going to pull you apart, basically. When the market gets unpredictable, which it always is, right? And make your emotions pop up. When you start managing your thoughts this way, when you are really going to put your focus on what I want every single day, your life will change. because we have limited ability to focus on things. And while we have all these thoughts in our head, in our working memory and in our direct ability to focus on something, there is not more than like 5 to 7 things you can focus on. So really, there is not many things you have to pick to focus on, and constantly redirect your focus, constantly having the discipline to redirect your focus so that you can avoid being trapped into the thoughts that are not working in your best interest. And then the last but definitely not least, rise to ownership. Because trading requires a mindset of ownership. And this is the ownership of your decisions, your actions, and results. It's really about how you show up mentally, emotionally, and also strategically to the market. And that's where the real freedom in trading comes from. Because you cannot keep blaming the market or the tools that are not working or the internet fell, suddenly out of the air. You are responsible for your outcomes. And this is because you have the power to decide what your response is. But you have to take it. So the key to your success here is to take control of your decisions and focus on what you can control, which are your responses to this external chaos and those internal pressures. Your freedom, just realize that your freedom depends on your ability to choose wisely. And wise decisions in trading are not defined by whether they are right, even though most traders are asking themselves, what is the right decision? Wise decisions in trading are defined by whether they are in your best interest. The right decision in trading is the one that's in your best interest. So what I have learned on my journey is that navigating the path to consistency and profitability in the market isn't about the mastering the market. It's really about mastering yourself and implementing those principles so that you can navigate those forces without getting absorbed into them. So focusing on integrity and treating yourself with respect, truly love and accept yourself, choosing what serves you best in any situation, and build that mental muscle so that you can always focus on what you want and take the ownership for your decisions. And that is what will help you stop fighting yourself and stop fighting against the market. Remember, the market isn't your enemy. It's the avenue. It's the avenue to get you to your destination, the freedom. And you must have heard this many times, is how you live, that's how you trade. And when you implement those principles, you will be able to go from living just trying to survive another day in the market to thriving, not just as a trader, but in your everyday life. So when the nurse said to me that my life would change, she was right. And I was really lucky to get that wake-up call because my life had to change. That moment was exactly what I needed to realize that if I didn't shift the way that I approached everything, myself, trading, life, that there was no way that I could actually succeed in trading. There was no way that I could withstand all these forces that were pulling me apart. Trading wasn't really a problem. I could make money. That was not the problem. It was my relationship with it. And the way that I let it consume me and pull me in to the point that I forgot about why I'm even doing this. The true breakthrough came when I understood that the external conditions, the market, the tools, the strategies weren't what I needed to change. I had to become the person who would be able to handle the challenges of trading. Someone who wasn't driven by fear or desperation, but by integrity, self-love, and clear intention. And this is what I would like you to take with you today. Don't wait for trading success to change your life. Don't put it out there like, oh, once I succeed, this is what I'm going to do. Because when you change the way you approach life, and therefore trading, the success will follow. Your trading journey is about you. And when you align your trading with who you are, with what you want, with your goals, that's what will help you stay on course and not let those powers pull you in so that you can make it all the way up to your goal. The question is, will you use that power? You have it, but will you use it? And then the decision is yours. Thank you so much. And if you guys would like to connect with me, I can, I hope Alex it's okay to share some of my handles, social handles.
Sure. So yeah, we will share all the contacts. What a brilliant speech, Agnieszka. Thank you so
Oh my
much.
God. Thank you, Alex.
We have great replies in the comments.
Wow,
So
yeah.
the best mindset coach, it was from Federico.
Oh, Federico, thank you so much, Federico.
Yeah, and also we have a number of questions. So we don't have a lot of time, but
Okay.
I should ask them to you. So, how to manage lot size? I suppose it's about the big amount of deposit and the big amount of trade, and how to make right psychology to it, not to trigger emotions.
Yes. So basically, the principle is what I assume is your question about is how do you size your trade so that it doesn't shake you, right? Because if you are taking too big size and if you're getting into a trade and you start getting nervous and it triggers you emotionally, like the fear, then you probably are in too big. And finding that balance is based on your risk tolerance. And I like to give, it's actually a very simple formula that I like to give to my students and that I used when I was building up my size was it's a math, right? It's a numbers game. So yes, I might say, oh, you know what, I'm okay risking $500 on a trade and then size accordingly. But when it came to taking that loss, I wasn't fine with it at all because when I said that, I meant the trade is probably gonna, like, I hope the trade is gonna work. So I looked at what is it that right now at this moment I am actually able to make on a trade, right? And if it is 200, then I can tell you 500 risk is too big because mentally it's going to put you in a split like, oh my God, if I lose 500 on one trade, now I have to take at least 2 or 3 trades to make that back. So it already puts you in that position of stress. It's like, oh my God, it's going to take forever. And it's going to trigger you to oversize the next trade because now you want to make that loss back. So instead of looking, okay, what everyone is saying, 2%, 2% risk of your capital, it's like, what is your capital? What is your risk tolerance? Look at yourself and where you are. Stop looking outside because you never know where those people are, what is their resilience, what is their capital. Look at yourself.
Okay, and how to define this personalized amount of risk? It's only a
Yeah,
price.
that's what I'm saying. It's like, what is it that you can withstand? So let's say you are now trading, I don't know, 200 shares, because it's not about number of shares, it's about the risk that you're putting on it, right? So, well, if your stop is tiny, you can take probably more shares, but it is the amount that you are about to lose, or that you have to agree to lose before you take the trade. So if it makes you nervous, lower your risk. And if it means lower your size because of the stop, yes, then lower your size and then make small steps to build up. And sometimes you might say, okay, I've traded 100 shares or whatever, one contract for a week. I'm ready to double up. And you go maybe to 3. You're like, okay, it's going well. I'm going to go to 3. And then you take 3 and you're like, oh, what's happening? And you feel all these emotions. I'm like, go back. Scale down. It's your own timeline. Don't rush. Small steps. When you take small steps in the right direction, you will still get where you want to be.
Okay,
Maybe
great.
not tomorrow.
Maybe
Just
tomorrow,
expectation.
maybe a day after tomorrow, but it will.
Yes, exactly. As long as you walk in the right direction.
Okay, thank you so much. It's a great idea. Thank you, Agnieszka.